What you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Barbecue business is a big part of history and tradition in North Carolina, but for some barbecue joints, that history is a big part of the business too. That's the case for Black Powder Smokehouse in Jamestown, where Pitmaster Keith Henning turned a historic Hughes gas station into the home for his barbecue dreams. The old building sat quiet nearly 20 years, and today it's bustling with life as well as a wonderful smell of smokehouse meats. It's a meat show, Keith says. Of course, the Black Powder Smokehouse name carries the weight of history for North Carolina's Triad region, too. In this episode of the Low and Slow Barbecue Show, we talk with Keith Henning to find out about his history and his business, which has added a location in Asheboro and expanded into full-service catering. Of course, we partnered with the Carolina Barbecue Festival to tell the story of Keith and pitmasters like him from all across the Carolinas, and they'll descend on Charlotte's Victoria Yards with their barbecue samples in tow on April 5th and 6th. You can be there too. Just visit CarolinaBBQFest.org to get tickets. Use promo code LOWSLOWBBQ for our special Low and Slow Barbecue Show discount. You can find out more about Black Powder Smokehouse on the web. The address is the same as the name, blackpowdersmokehouse.com, all one word. See all the good stuff Keith and his team are cooking up on Instagram and Facebook too. Just look for Black Powder Smokehouse. You can't miss it. Now, enjoy this Low and Slow Barbecue Show episode of the Carolina Pitmaster Series in partnership with Carolina Barbecue Festival. That's right. Today, we're talking with Keith Henning, the Pitmaster from Black Powder Smokehouse. So excited to welcome you back to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show, Keith.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to our conversation today. Looking forward to seeing you at the big Charlotte Barbecue Festival coming up on April 5th and 6th in Victoria Yards in Charlotte. But today we're talking all about you and the Black Powder Smokehouse. So let's get started at the beginning. Where are you from and how did you get cooking low and slow?
Oh, gosh. So I'm originally from Indiana, which isn't really known for this barbecue, but I've been in North Carolina now for probably 24, 25 years and just really caught the bug being here. I remember my dad cooking on the old Weber kettle for the longest time, and that's all he ever had. But he had about 100 different setups for the kettle. Really got me interested in barbecue, and I got a chef background, so I really came up through the country clubs and resorts and really got into barbecue probably, right around 2016 or so.
Okay, so about the time that you got started in the restaurant, so 2016, you got into there, but you were classically trained, more professional, prepared, and I looked a little bit back in your LinkedIn profile, so a lot of time spent in the food service business. How do you feel like that stuff translates and prepares you for the life of a pitmaster?
Oh gosh, it's I've been doing this now for look back probably almost 26 years as a chef. Went right out of college, culinary school, kind of came up, and I think it really prepares you. Just barbecue is so precise when it comes to your temperatures and watching your smoker and not letting stuff get out of control. It's not hard if you do those things, but it's just being in a kitchen for so long just really helped me pay more attention to detail once I really started to get into barbecue. And I think it's helped me, along the way as well.
Yeah. What do you feel like your specialty is? And it doesn't have to be barbecue, but if it is, that's good too.
From a personal perspective, I like to take classics and really put a different spin on it. When I'm doing the NCRLA Chef Showdown, which I've competed in the last couple of years, it's taking simple things that we've all grown up on and just putting a little bit of different twist on it. And that's kind of my chef background of my daughter would say making it a little more bougie. And so that's kind of my specialty on things, is just taking classics and really putting my own little twist on them.
Yeah, giving it the Keith Henning touch,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And I know that one of these recipes that you shared, and we'll talk about it, is one of those traditional things, macaroni and cheese. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as our conversation goes on. But I want to get into the details about Black Powder Smokehouse first. What led you to get started in 2016? How'd the idea and the concept become reality?
Well, as I was moving up through, just being a chef, you move up and you actually cook less. You start doing more administrative and ordering. And so you got to know a few guys, and we started doing barbecue competitions. And from there, I just really got the bug. Um, People knew my background, so they started asking us to do catering, weddings, and things like that. We did some fundraisers for the church. And next thing you know, I got to know one of my partners that we have now, who actually owned the filling station where we're at, and just started talking to him. And he thought it would be a great idea to have this type of restaurant in the community, and that's how it all started.
One thing leads to another, and you're turning an old Hughes oil gas station into a barbecue joint. Now, I've seen some of the pictures of the before and the after, and it's you've kept the flavor of the gas station, but definitely expanded on it in a lot of ways. Tell me about the work that was involved from turning something old and abandoned for many years into a thriving business again.
Yeah, so I lived in Jamestown for a long time here, probably almost 19 years.
Mhm.
And we used to drive by the gas station, and it was abandoned. It was falling down. I mean, you've seen the pictures. And we always thought it would be an incredible place for something to be there, but just didn't know what. Even when I saw it, I didn't know that I wanted to have a barbecue place. Um, and so when we started to convert it, we wanted to keep the history of the building because it was extremely important to Jamestown. The Hughes family was extremely well known in Jamestown. And so we wanted to keep as much as we could, but we had to add some modern to it as well, to put a kitchen and put the grease traps and all that stuff that you need for a restaurant, because it just wasn't built for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we first started the construction, the town went nuts, and they thought we were tearing it down. They thought we were
Oh,
going to get rid of the whole gas station, and we got hate mail and all kinds of
oh,
stuff. And then once they started to see the progress, they said, "Oh, this is awesome. Keep doing what you're doing." And everybody has embraced it as much as they can in the 4 years that we've been open.
yeah. And again, you've really kind of kept the flavor of the original building, the original property, and grown it and made it look modern and give a place for people to sit down and eat and have a good time, right?
Yeah, and we just as far as the ceiling tiles that are on it, or the roof
Mhm.
tiles, those are all the original tiles that were
Mm.
made in Greensboro 100 years ago.
Oh,
And
wow.
so it was important for us to keep pieces like that, even though
Mhm.
we were changing the whole footprint of it and the structure. It still kept some of that history to the building.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm glad you mentioned history because I feel like there's more history involved and specifically in the name. Where does black powder come from? And I kind of get the feeling, like I said, that there's part of the history in that too.
It is. So Jamestown has a strong tradition in long rifle makers.
Mm.
Um, 1800s, and there's actually several of the rifles around town. Lots of collectors, and the where the restaurant was known as Flint Hill, which is where
Mm.
they used to mine for the flint for the long
Mm.
rifles.
Okay.
So we wanted to tie into the local history. All of those that came before us that made Jamestown what it was. And so that's how we came up with black powder, along with the long rifle, the black powder rifle makers that came way before us.
Yeah, that's cool. Kind of keeping a memory of the roots where you're at now. So, kind of staying with that Jamestown the location. We'll talk about some of your other stuff here in a moment. But tell me what tell me about the experience. What do you want people to feel or know or experience when they come to the restaurant? What's it like to visit Black Powder Smokehouse?
So when you come to the restaurant, first and foremost, you're going to walk in the door and it's going to be a meat show. I mean, we've got the chopping blocks right there.
Yeah.
We're slicing, chopping, carving. We want to keep it as fresh as possible when you walk in the door. And so you're coming in, you're interacting with the staff, you're going down the line. Everything's made in-house. And we just want to create an environment where you want to bring a family, where you want to hang out for a while. Just a cozy atmosphere where it almost feels like you're eating it at home.
Yeah. So, what do you want people to remember when they've left the restaurant?
A lot of times people remember how friendly the staff is. We put a lot of pride in hiring good people. We have awesome people, and we just want you to feel welcome when you're there. We want you to have great food, but it's the total experience. You have great food and terrible service, you're always going to remember the terrible service. I would rather people come in and say, "Man, that was just the most awesome thing that we've done all day, and it was good food and a good experience."
Yeah. So, and talking about that food, you've got something in your name there, artisan barbecue. What does that mean? What is artisan barbecue to you?
Yeah, so was a little hesitant to add the artisan when we first
It's
opened.
kind of highfalutin, right?
Well, and a lot of times you think, okay, we're going to put artisan on it, and that just means you have to pay more for it. But if you look up the definition, it's just it's a product or things that are made in small numbers, small batches, in traditional methods. And so I couldn't have thought of a better descriptor than what we do as artisan, because we cook a certain amount during the day, and when it's gone, it's gone. And we use wood and fire, and you can't get really more traditional than how we cook barbecue.
Yeah, cool. So you opened up the Jamestown location in 2016, and then you expanded into Asheboro. So tell me about the expansion. Why'd you decide to do that, and how's that progressed?
Asheboro is just an awesome community, and we had so many folks that would come up from Asheboro, Randolph County area to our restaurant. And then one of my partners is from Randolph County, and so thinking of expansion, we really wanted to be in that type of market again, where we have local ties. My partner grew up there; he's from there. He has family there, and it beats going into a city where you know nothing about. And don't have any connection to, but we felt like Asheboro was where we had a connection, and it's been great. We've been open now for I think almost 9 months. It's been a great response from the community, and it feels like we can just jump in and be part of that community and do what we were doing in Jamestown and Asheboro.
Yeah, great. So is there any difference between the two locations apart from the mileage?
Asheboro's a lot bigger.
Okay.
Jamestown is very cozy. We have about 70 seats. Asheboro is about 160. But it's a historic building. It's a building that had great significance to the community. So that was important to us. And then we just did the best use of the space, kind of for what we had. It's got a full bar. Jamestown only serves beer and wine. So there are some differences, but it's the same when you come in. It's the meat show. It's we're carving. You can smell it when you walk in. And for me, that's important too with a barbecue place. If you can't smell it when you go in, you might as well go back out and get
Forget
your
it.
car. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So, between those two locations, I know you're getting a thriving catering business too. Where do you spend most of your time? Are you in Jamestown, you in Asheboro, or are you on the road between both?
I float around. I live probably 2 miles from the Jamestown location. So just for proximity, I'm there probably 75% of the time. Our catering building is only a mile or two. It's an old Henry James barbecue that we converted to our catering building. And so, again, it's only a couple miles from me. So I float around in Jamestown probably 75% of the time, and then head down to Asheboro and see how those guys are doing down there.
Yeah, keeping tabs on things. Now, a moment or two ago in our conversation, you said that you'd really kind of gotten out of the actual cooking. You weren't doing as much cooking as maybe as you were before. Are you back to doing more cooking, or are you managing while you're doing all this stuff and the catering in the two locations?
I still cook quite a bit. It's and that's by choice.
Hmm.
I've got great people in both locations, actually in all three locations. Guys that have been with me from the get-go. So I was in there side by side with them. So it's easy for me to go in and cook, but then again, it's also easy for me to step out if there's something that I have to do, if it's, to step off to a catering because it's a big event, or just to help where I need to. We've just had great people that are really an intricate part of the team that allow me to do pretty much whatever I need to do for that day.
Yeah, that's great. That's the key part about building a good team, folks. You can rely on while you're not around. So when you're cooking, what are you cooking on? Tell me about how the cooking works and what kind of wood are you using?
Yeah, so we have two different. We have a different smoker in each location. So in Jamestown, we have the Myron Mixon. It's a big H2O 1K. It can cook a ton of meat. And then in Asheboro, we have a 720 oiler. So it's a big wood-fired rotisserie. It's what we wanted to have in Jamestown. We just didn't have the space for it, because if you've ever seen those smokers, they're big.
This podcast is sponsored by Jackson Creative, a custom communication agency located in downtown Hickory, North Carolina, specializing in online content creation. To learn more, visit thejacksoncreative.com. Jackson Creative, we tell your story.
And they take up a lot of space, and we have a small footprint in Jamestown. But the Mixon has been awesome. Wouldn't trade it for anything. And the oiler took a little bit to get used to, but it's a great cooker too. And we use 99% oak. I feel it just gives you a nice consistent flavor over time, doesn't overpower. It just gives you good heat, good consistency, and it's also what's most readily available in the area.
Yeah, for sure. And know the Oilers. I know John G's cooking on one. My friend Adam Doole over at Apple City Barbecue in Taylorsville's got one. So that's a popular cooker around the world. And it seems to be a good way to control the cook and be efficient in your wood usage and still get a great product and cook a ton of meat.
Yeah, I was on the phone with John G a couple times when we first got it.
Yeah,
we would have some issues, and he gave some great advice. And that's one of the great things about the barbecue community is I can pick up the phone and I can call any one of those guys, and there's no secrets. It's, hey, you do this, do that. This is what I've been doing. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, cool. So what do you feel like is the best thing on the menu? What is your favorite item on your menu?
Oh gosh, the brisket is what we sell the most of. I think it's what we pride ourselves on the most, because for a long time in North Carolina, brisket didn't exist.
Right.
I mean, this is pork country. And so really over the last, I would say 5 to 7 years, you've really seen the brisket start to come in, and people cooking Texas style brisket where, it's sliced. When you first had brisket in North Carolina, it was cooked to death. It was shredded up, put on a sandwich, sauced to death. But now people know how to cook it here, and there's great guys around doing it. So brisket and mac and cheese are definitely what we sell the most of.
Yeah, cool. So let's talk a little bit more about the Carolina Barbecue Festival. I know you've been involved with that. I saw you there last year, but how did you get hooked up with Lewis Donald and the gang there at the Carolina Barbecue Festival?
So Lewis was the first ever barbecue guy that I had ever met. When we were buying the Myron Mixon, I had reached out to them and said, does anybody in the area have one? And they gave me Lou's name, and I reached out to him not knowing what to expect. And he invited me for a day just to come down to the restaurant and see how he used the smoker, how it cooked, any questions that I had about anything, whether it was the smoker or what payroll program, whatever it was about the restaurant. Lewis is awesome. And
Yeah.
I talk to him quite a bit now. We go back and forth just about, how's business down there? How's business up here? What are you doing a little bit different? But that's how I got tied into the Carolina Barbecue Festival, just going back with Lewis from day one, pretty much.
Yeah. So, the festival, of course, supports a few charities in the Barbecue for a Cause mission. And one of those is Operation Barbecue Relief. And we talked to Stan Hayes from that charity here a little while ago. Well, what does it mean to you to be supporting these charities that really are providing food and supporting the larger community?
Those guys are awesome. I follow them and what they do. I would love to be part of some of their events, at some time, just to go into areas that have a disaster or, whatever it is. They go in without question, without hesitation, and they provide food for the people in those devastated areas and things that are going on. So just an amazing organization, and anything that we can do for any of them, we'll be on board with.
Yeah, that's great. So as you're getting ready for the festival on April 5th and 6th, have you got a plan for what you're going to take to the menu this year?
I don't have a plan for the menu yet. I think I need to get with Lewis and see what everybody's doing. But we've got a few ideas. I just want to make sure that we're not doing something that somebody else is doing.
Yeah.
But we'll get it all sorted out here pretty soon.
Yeah, definitely. Last year's offering was something out of this world and not like anything else in the festival there. So it's a little bit outside the box. Enjoyed that and look forward to the surprise you'll bring this year. Talking about the festival, what kind of preparation, apart from the menu, what kind of preparation is required to get you ready and make a trip over to Charlotte for the festival?
Part of it is just making sure that all the locations are well taken care of for the few days that I get out and play. And then just ensuring that we have enough food and the prep involved in it. There's several weeks that go into it where we're just planning menus and getting food lists and just the logistics of it. Who's going to help and who's not going to help, who's going to come down the day of. So it's not a, jump in the car and go down there type event. That there is quite a bit of planning, but first and foremost, I just have to make sure the home bases are covered. And then, they let me go out and play around at the festival.
Yeah, and this isn't the only one you go to. Tell me some of the other Places you participate. I see your name up on some other festivals.
Yeah, so last year we did the Pinehurst Barbecue Festival, and that was awesome. Chris Preto hosts that one, Prime Barbecue. Some amazing pitmasters at that one, between Adam out at Old Colony Smokehouse and Lewis does that one as well. That one's a little bit bigger. That one's 5,000 to 6,000 people in the heart of the Pinehurst Village. It's hot. It's super hot down there during that one. But that's really the only other one that we do.
Well, then there's the competition stuff that you've done. I saw you last year coming in as a finalist, right?
Yeah, I've competed 2 years in the NCRLA Chef Showdown. It's about the only barbecue guy that I know of that's in them. And we've gone to the final event both years. So it's been awesome to know that we're competing against chefs from Wilmington to Charlotte to Raleigh, all the way to Asheville. I think last year they had over 90 chefs enter, and we made it to the top 10. So that was great.
Yeah, super. Gives you great exposure, and it's good to have that barbecue and the barbecue flavor, the Pitmaster there in the competition. I want to talk a little bit about your recipe, that mac and cheese, and you shared that with me. We'll get it up on our blog at lowslowbbqshow.com. But without going really into the details, because I've got them all here, what makes this macaroni and cheese recipe special? What's the Keith Henning touch here?
So when you make that mac and cheese, you can change it up in so many different ways between whatever cheeses you use. We use a blend of 3 different cheeses in ours. So there's just, it's a pretty basic recipe,
Hmm.
but there's so many different things you can do with it. You can bougie it up, and you can go as basic as you want. So
Hmm.
that was when we were developing recipes for the restaurant. When we landed on that one, we just said this is a great mac and cheese, and you can cook it so many different ways. As
Hmm.
far as, again, the cheeses that you do, if you put breadcrumbs on top or cracker crumbs, it's very, someone can take that recipe and put their personal touch on it without any problem at all.
Yeah. What's something that somebody got to keep in mind when they're trying to make the recipe apart from adding their personal touch? Any special tips they need to keep in mind?
No, just the first part when you're cooking it, you want to kind of stay low and slow on
Hmm.
the mac and cheese, so you're not overcooking the pasta, or you just want to heat everything up nice and smooth. But when you take the top off, then you can blast it. You can turn up the oven at that point. And it's pretty much just, if you're cooking a pork butt or a brisket, that last portion, when you've got that thing wrapped, you can go as hard as you want. But like I said, it's such a personal, food is so personal. But when you take
Yeah.
that mac and cheese recipe, change the cheese in it, do whatever you want, and it's a great one.
Yeah, and make it your own. Well, speaking about your own, I want to kind of step into secret time here. The barbecue family jewels. What does Keith enjoy? What do you enjoy most about being a pit master and operating your own barbecue business?
I think it's the people that you meet and the community
Hmm.
that we're part of. Like I said a little bit earlier, I haven't met really a bad person that's been in the barbecue business. Everybody is so open. They're generous. They're always wanting to give back. And coming from the other side of things, where I was in the chef world, everything was secretive and nobody wanted to really share anything. And you come over here and it's a whole different ball game. So
Hmm.
that has been awesome. And then just being able to be part of a community and to give back, to hire kids that we've known since they're 6, 7 years old and be part of their journey. It's just really the whole experience of being part of a community and having, that barbecue place that hopefully their kids will come back to one day, and they'll bring their kids, and just that tradition that we're building here.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I'm sure it doesn't surprise you. A lot of the guys we talk to talk about the barbecue community and being able to lean on one another and get some help from one another. But not everybody mentions the fact that, hey, we can bring somebody in after they've been a fan as a kid and maybe launch their own food service career. So you got an opportunity to kind of mold somebody into a walk that you've enjoyed and let them turn it into a career.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Cool. So, what do you feel like it takes to be successful in the barbecue world?
Oh, right now it's just being, I would say flexible, but you just have to be able to turn on a dime right now, especially with
Hmm.
the way meat prices are, and the overall supply chain for the last few years has just been all over the place.
Yeah.
So it's just being not so set in your ways that you're willing to make some changes just based on what you can get and what you have. Um, I think is the biggest success, and then it's treating your people um, with the most respect you can. Again, we have great people. A lot of them we've known for a long time, and those folks are family for us.
Yeah, that's great. Sounds like you've really got some great lessons and some ways to be successful out there. What do you feel like is the best thing you've ever made, and how and where did you serve it? What's the best you've done?
Oh gosh, I couldn't I couldn't even.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, I couldn't even start to. I think if we approach everything, I want everything to be good and the best
Hmm.
thing that I've ever had, and it doesn't always turn out that way. Um, so yeah, that would be a hard one to answer of what's the best thing ever, because I've been doing this for so long. I'm an old man.
Yeah, well, not too old. What about your the biggest audience? Been the biggest platform or stage that you've been on? Not necessarily a stage, but any notable folks that you've been able to serve to.
I mean, we have the Wyndham Golf Championship come in town
Uh-huh.
every year, and so we get to feed a lot of the golfers, a lot of the guys you
Cool.
see on TV. Um, but we try not to make a big deal of it when they come
Mm-hmm.
in. We know that they're coming in just to enjoy some food like everybody else. So
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that we've had anybody super famous in there, but
Yeah,
hopefully that day will come.
yeah, that's all right. Well, those golfers, a lot of those guys are super famous anyway. But that's cool. You kind of down to earth. They're just looking for another good meal. When Keith is looking for another good meal, what is your favorite barbecue restaurant to go to?
Oh goodness, my favorite barbecue restaurant. I I have become a fan of Lexington Family
Hmm.
Barbecue. Nathan is an awesome person,
Yeah.
and just knowing the family history with his grandpa starting the business and his dad being in the business, and now he's in the business, and I've got to know him a little bit. Um, when I figured out what to order when I got there, um, that's probably one of my favorite barbecue places. That's more your traditional North Carolina style barbecue.
So what is it you order when you get there?
So I'm not a big fan of the super chopped up barbecue, and
Okay.
that was when I first got here to North Carolina long ago. That was kind of my first experience. So
Hmm.
so I either do a coarse chopped or sliced, and I don't know if it's because I know Nathan, but he likes. I definitely get more of the outside brown,
Oh yeah,
and that's where the flavor's at.
the bark, good
That's
stuff.
right.
Right on. So when you're looking for advice, anybody in particular, and again, I know it's a community and all you guys have a great relationship, but the number one person you pick up the phone and try to get some advice from, who is that?
I would say probably Lewis
Okay.
would be number one, and then Anthony DiBernardo down in Charleston with Swig and
Hmm.
Swine.
Yeah.
I've gotten to know him over the last couple of years, and there's been several times where I've had a question, and I've reached out to him. And again, he's just an awesome person. Gives back to that community 200%.
Hmm.
It's good to know those guys. But yeah, Lewis and Anthony are probably my go-to guys.
Yeah, cool. It's good to have folks like that. So we've had a great conversation with you, Keith. And again, looking forward to seeing you on April 5th and 6th at the Carolina Barbecue Festival at Victoria Yards in Charlotte. And we're going to wrap it up with our low and slow showdown. And I know you kind of been through this in our last visit. Maybe some things have changed. We'll find out. But some quick hitters there. So if you're out cooking, is it going to be gas, charcoal, pellets, or wood?
I got to go with wood.
And what's your favorite wood and why?
Oak, just consistency.
Okay. Pork, beef, chicken, or something else?
I am going to go beef with the pork right behind it.
Okay. Of course, the beef is growing in popularity around the Carolinas, but it's always a pork state for sure.
It is.
What do you feel like is the best state in these United States for barbecue?
Well, you got to say North Carolina.
Well, you got to.
It's where we're at. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, what is the best Carolina barbecue style? Is it Eastern, Western, or what they're doing in South Carolina with the mustard?
I'm going to have to go Western, but I do like a good mustard sauce.
Yeah, well, I'm sure your friend at Lexington Barbecue will be glad to hear you pick the Western
Yeah,
side. So,
yeah. That's
we-
right. Nathan, I got to stick with him.
yeah, nothing wrong with that. I got family in that part of the world too, so I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
So, your sauce, is it better with or without?
I'm going to go without.
Without, okay.
Yeah.
And last but not least, is barbecue, Keith? Is barbecue a verb or a noun?
That's my favorite question. I'm going to go with a noun on that one.
All right, and that's it. The lowdown from the man, Keith Henning at Black Powder Smokehouse on the Low and Slow Barbecue Show. Keith, thanks so much for your time today.
Well, thank you for having me.
You've been listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show on the Mesh.tv network of podcasts. Be sure to visit us online at lowslowbbqshow.com. You can learn more about the Carolina Barbecue Festival and the other pitmasters participating in this year's event. Among the podcasts at lowslowbbqshow.com, be sure to look for our Carolina Barbecue Festival episode with the festival founder Lewis Donald and Stan Hayes, that's CEO and founder of Operation Barbecue Relief. That's one of the great charities the festival supports as it promotes barbecue for a cause. at lowslowbbqshow.com. You can also hear from other Carolina pitmasters like Dylan Cook from Fort Grove Barbecue in South Carolina. We've got Brandon Shepard from Shepard Barbecue on Emerald Isle. Of course, they'll both be at the Carolina Barbecue Festival April 5th and 6th at Victoria Yards in Charlotte. Just visit lowslowbbqshow.com for all the details. And if you like what you hear in the Low and Slow Barbecue Show, please follow us and subscribe in your favorite podcast stream. We'll love it if you give us a 5-star rating, and more than anything, please share the show with your friends. Special thanks to Keith Henning from Black Powder Smokehouse. Thanks as well to our producer Andrew Moose and the whole team at the Mesh.tv network of podcasts. Most especially, thank you for listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show. Remember, for the best barbecue and the best barbecue podcast, make it low and slow.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.